I think a vast majority of Americans can retire in 10 years or less if
I don't know about that, bro.
Stop the cap.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to be doing a reaction video. I'm going to be reacting to how you can retire in 10 years if you're making $70,000.
Stop the cap.
I'm just curious to see how it is. By the way, I make finance videos.
Who cares?
But no further ado, let's start reacting.
I think a vast majority of Americans can retire in 10 years or less if
I don't know about that, bro.
Stop the cap.
But it is good to mention that this video did come out in 2018. So with inflation and stuff, the numbers probably should be adjusted. But let's hear what you have to say.
they're making at least $70,000 per year. If you want to retire in 10 years or less, the number one thing that you need to do is just get creative with your money. And so the important thing here is to realize that saving is not a sacrifice, it's an opportunity. And so you're gonna have to live a little bit differently than most people in
Definitely. AKA live frugal.
order to make this happen. Live in the least expensive apartment that you can. Get roommates, house hack, buy a 2-bedroom apartment or 3-bedroom and rent out the other rooms to keep your housing expense as low as possible. If you
Definitely would agree with that. Definitely would agree with that. Definitely open up a lot more capital so you can invest. And you would need to definitely do that if you're trying to retire in 10 years.
You can cut your housing expense from $2,000 to maybe $600 or $700, which is actually pretty easy to do with roommates in a vast majority of cities. All of a sudden, you've cut 10 or 15 years off the time that it's taken to retire or will take you to retire.
That is so true. So true.
The next thing is if you're making $70,000, the one thing that I recommend that you do is go out and just try to make a little extra money. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to go out and try to make an extra $10,000 or more per month. But every $1,000 that you make and invest instead, that's going to cut literally months off the time that it'll take you to retire. And so if you're making $70,000, launch a couple side hustles. Freelance on the weekends, and freelance to invest. So I always encourage you, after you're saving as much as you can, just go out and try to make a little more money with the explicit goal of trying to become
Okay. So this is the thing, this is an interesting thing. He said making 70K. So if you have side hustles and all that stuff, if you add it all together, it would be more than 70K.
You want to change your story?
Please.
Just wanted to throw it out there, but everything he's definitely saying, I definitely agree with. But the 10 years with 70K, not unless you're able to, like I said, you don't have to pay. Well, I guess if he mentioned, like, if you didn't have to pay rent, maybe like you found used coupons and stuff like that, and you were able to save 60% of your 60% of your income, then maybe so. But it's still a bit of a stretch. You gotta remember, this is 2018, and I guess it really depends on how much you plan on living off of per year. So if you only plan on living off of $30,000, then maybe so, but we'll have to see.
financially independent as quickly as possible. And then the final thing, just stick with it. That's the most important piece of advice. So I see a lot of people that get really excited and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go out and become financially independent. I'm gonna retire early. And then you check back in with them like 90 days later and they're no longer doing it. But this is one of those things where it can actually get pretty fun and it can get really addictive. And so the thing is, once you start saving and you go from saving 5% to 50%, just look at your bank account every day for 5 minutes. That's what I did. And you're gonna start seeing your money grow. And that's all the motivation that you're going to need, I promise you. And then it becomes like a game where you're like, oh my gosh, this could actually be possible. Even if it takes you 12 years or 15 years, you've still retired early. The average retirement age is between 62 and 65 in the United States. So no matter when you're starting, if you can do it even in 15 years or less, or 20 years or less, that's a whole lot more time you have to do whatever you want.
Okay, I definitely get what he's saying. To me, 10 years, well, you gotta remember, this video was in 2018. To me, 10 years is still with 70K if we just, he's saying, if you have other side hustles and stuff, but that could put you up, depending on what type of side hustles you have, to 890 or 100 or something like that. But to me, 70,000 10 years, I don't think so. I think maybe I can like play around with the calculator. Maybe 15. If she said 15, I would probably agree. But if he's counting, side hustles and stuff, they get to the six figures. If you had six figures, 10 years may be possible. But you also got to remember, you don't want to mess up the quality of life. So you don't want to be like eating unhealthy, because they say health is wealth. Just want to keep that in mind. Also, you have to remember, there's other like if you have kids, if you want to get married, all of this stuff kind of plays into a factor. Now, if you don't, like I said, you don't have kids, you live frugal, you house hack, you buy stuff in bulk, you don't eat out, you don't go on vacations, maybe so. I think that could definitely be done with 100K if you kind of did that for a span of 10 years. Also, you also got to remember, when you're retiring, it really based it off of like your lifestyle. So I did some like quick numbers. Let's just say you wanted to, I used what they call the rule of 25. By the way, guys, and I'm just going to play with this calculator so you guys can see what I'm basing it off of. So let's just say, she said 75,000, right? So let's just say if you were able to save 50%, but actually, they're going to take out 30% from taxes, so straight off the back. So now you're down to 52. But let's just say half of that. Let's just say you were able to contribute 25. He was able to say from 50. I'm basing this off of 52. Well, let's just say 50. So let's just say you were able to save 25 for 10 years. S&P giving you a 10% return annually. Let's see where we would be in 10 years. Oops. And let's just say we start off with 10,000. I'm just going to give that the benefit of the doubt. So, oops. Looks like, oh, this is a month. I was about to say, whoa, what's going on there? Let's say 2,000. Actually, let's say 2,000 to make the math a little easier. So let's say 2,001. Yeah, let's say 2,100. Might not be 25 exact, but just for the math purposes. Okay, so if you were able, we gotta remember, I'm using this from a practical sense. 75. Say you made 75,000, just for tax purposes. I said take that 30 off. The reason why I didn't say with the 401k, because the 401k you have to retire at like 49 and a half and stuff, like 59 and a half. So that's why I didn't do that. So I just said 30% of, just when we were just talking about 75. He did mention side hustles and all that stuff, but I guess I can kind of play around with that later. So he said 75,000. I said I took out 30% for taxes. That'll give you like 52. So just to make the math a little easier, I said if you were able to do 50%, that's 25 for 10 years. S&P give you an average of 10%, so we're gonna go with that annually. So that'll be about close to a $500,000. If you wanted to live off of $40,000 using the 4% rule, you would probably need at least about 40 times 25, just a rule of thumb, about $1 million. So he's kind of off there. So let's see if we change this to 15. Sorry, I put for the interest rate that you would earn, the interest, I switched the numbers, whatever. So this is supposed to be 10, and the length of time is supposed to be 15. So I thought, okay. Now to me, like I said, for 15, that seems a little bit more realistic. Maybe if you live off of 30 instead of, let's see, and this is just a 4% rule. Just let's say you live off of 30,000 times 25. Oh, and that would be 750 right there. So that, to me, I think like 15 is possible. And we gotta remember, I started with 10. Now, like I said, if you started out with a whole lot more, that would, like 50K, that would change the dynamics. But we just talking about, like, assuming you started off with zero money. And you remember, I started off with 10K. So let's just say if you start off with $100, 10 years. By the way, this is interesting to play. Yeah, still be a little short, but like I said, to me, 15 from what he's saying is possible. But you gotta remember, you're gonna be living a frugal life. So if you wanted to be living the lavish life, you're definitely going to have to be making a lot more money. But like I said, I'm just kind of playing around to see how the stuff would actually go. I do think all the things he's saying is kind of right, but the 10 years to me was a bit unrealistic. But I get his overall goal. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about it? Of course, today's time it probably would have to be adjusted. 10 years, I think you would probably need more of 100K. In my opinion, for 100K. And then if you live frugal, 10 years with 100K, let's just say 100K. So let's actually just do that, play around. 100K, let's say 30% of that is taxes. So that's 70K. Let's say you're able, from 70K, you're able to save half of that. So what's that? 3,000. That's 35,000. 35,000 divided by 12. These are just rough numbers. 2,916. 10 years. Let's go. Estimated 10 years. And let's say we just start off with $100. Let's see where we'd be at now. So, alright. So if you, and this is with $35,000. Let me see. Yeah. So this is with 100K. This is even with 100K. I remember I took the 30% off. Not 30. I took 30% of that to go to say assume taxes. Length 10 years. Estimated interest is $10. But this is starting, from straight from $100. Now, if we did, let's just say you had the 10,000 already. See, 10,000 a month. 2,000 here, 10 years. Yeah, so that's about a little over $500,000. Let's just see. We're gonna push this up to let's see, 30,000. See that? Make sure. Yeah. So these numbers, it seems like it's not that big of a difference. As far as, let me make sure this is all right now. 15, I think that's definitely going to, 15 will put you at $1 million, but that's, no, let's just say $100. Play that around. Yeah. Oh, okay. So here we go. So 15 at 100,000, like I said, well, even this is 15. So this is 50 at $1,500 initial investment, $100. Assuming, then this is 50% of your income too, guys. So length of time 15, estimate. So I'm just kind of giving like a realistic expectations. You can actually kind of use this. But I thought it was an interesting video. I like its concepts, but that 10 years for 70K, I think it's a little unrealistic from a practical sense. But that concludes this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you like finance videos or finance reaction videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'm out.